Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I'm going to be bringing you two mixed media winter DIYs using Dollar Tree wood cutouts. So for DIY number one, we have this snowman. And let me tell you, I really struggled with this one, and you'll see as we go along. So what I'm doing is taking my heat gun and I'm loosening up the scarf, and I'll do the nose and the piece around the hat. I'm also using a little spatula from my Cricut days way back when you used the cartridges. I just had it on hand, and it's thinner than the ones you buy nowadays, so it works really good taking these wood pieces apart. So again, just heating it up with my heat gun and then sliding the spatula underneath it, trying not to tear it up too much. Sometimes these pieces just pop right off, and then other times you struggle with them. These were on here pretty well. So now that all of those are off, I'm just going to take my finger sander here, and I've been watching everybody use these, and I decided to buy myself one, and I really like it. So the sandpaper goes on there like Velcro. So I will put the link to that in the description box if you're interested in purchasing one. And now I have this orange yarn and the snowman's nose. And we're just going to take some hot glue, and then we're going to start wrapping the nose. So I'm starting out with putting some hot glue on the back of the nose. And then I put more of the hot glue on the front. So I'm putting it on about a third of the nose, and then I just start wrapping it. And you want to make sure that your yarn is close together so that you don't see the wood in between where your pieces of yarn are. And this is just regular yarn that I've had for years. Again, I'm just putting a little bit more hot glue on the front of the nose, wrapping it, and then filling the rest of it with the hot glue. Once I get to the pointy end, I just cut the yarn off and glue it to the back of the nose. Now I did get a little hot glue on the front part of my nose, so I'm just trying to pick that off. I'm pick up my nose. Trying it on my snowman. Looks good except for on the end, the back end. You can see a piece of that wood there, so I'm just going to cut a little piece of the yarn off and glue it to there. And that way you won't see that. Perfect. And now I have this hat that I got from Dollar Tree. I want to say probably year before last. So it is a black and red checked pointy hat. It has the fur ball on the end, and then the cuff of the hat has fur on it also. So I'm just going to cut the ball off, and it's kind of open there where I cut it off, so I'm just going to glue that together. And I thought this would be perfect for the ball on the snowman's hat. And then we're going to remove the fur from the bottom of the hat. And I just take my scissors and cut the strings apart. You can use a seam ripper for this if you have one, if you're a sewer. Once you get it started, you can pretty much just pull it off. And then I'm going to cut the seam for the fur, and of course a bunch of the fur comes off, and that's fine. We're going to take the rim of the snowman's hat and we're going to glue it to the back of the fur. And you want to use the side that's the front side of the brim of your snowman's hat. That's the part you want to glue down. So I just put the glue on the back of the wood piece, laid it on the fur, and then I'm just going to cut around it with my scissors. Now some of your fur does come off, but that's fine. And I actually do trim it up a little bit because I don't like the long pieces on it. So I do give it a haircut later on, but I don't show that. I do it off camera. And now I'm going to take this red and black check fabric, and I'm just going to cut a piece of it off, and we're going to put that on for his scarf. Now there was a hole in there, I guess, when I was pulling the fur off of it. I put a hole in it, so I want to make sure that I do my cuts around the hole so that it doesn't end up on my scarf. And the material, the fabric is face up, and that's not right. It should be face down. So as you see in a little bit, we're going to be removing the wood piece because I glued it on wrong. I glued it on to the front side of the fabric, and it should have been glued on to the back side of the fabric. So we can't use that piece of the fabric. We're going to have to cut a new piece. So I had all kinds of problems with this snowman, but I got through it and I finished him up, and I think he looked pretty good. And actually, before you start putting any pieces on this snowman, if you want to paint him white, you should go ahead and do it right now. Just go ahead and do it. Because I got to doing all this and then I forgot and forgot to paint him. So make sure you paint him before you add any of your pieces to him. So here I am, I flipped the fabric over, so now the right side of the fabric is facing the table. And I'm just cutting slits in the scarf in there to make it look like scarves look. And here's where, instead of gluing that on, or maybe I don't glue it on. No, I don't glue it on yet. But I made so many mistakes with this guy. I mean, you won't believe it. So I'm going to do the top of his hat with some of this red and black checked fabric. Now here's where I glue stuff on, and I should have painted him first. So before you do any of this, paint him first. And actually this was done incorrectly too. So putting the glue on the top like that was okay, except for right here where I filled that in. I should not have done that at all, and you'll see why. So there it's on, and now you'll see when I go to put on that feather or the fur cuff, the the hat part is down too far. So I try my best to cut it off, get it to where it needs to be. Sanded it down. I took my X-Acto knife, was taking the glue off, and it still needed more to be done. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to flip him over and do the other side. So that's what I did. So I went ahead and I put the cuff on the fabric. I drew it around there and then cut that rounded piece out. And I think that was the best way to do this. So with the fabric right side facing up and my furry piece there facing up, I'm going to glue it to the fabric. Well, I thought it, no, I did glue, I thought I glued it to the fabric. Oh yeah, I did. So at some point I glued that band, that fur band, to the fabric. And now I'm gluing the whole thing down on the snowman. I cut off the excess. And now we're going to put his scarf on. So again, before you glue any of this stuff down, you should paint him white if you want him white. And here's his nose. We're going to put that on. So we have his hat, his scarf, and now we're going to put his nose on. Going to hot glue a little bit more of that flannel down. Glue his nose on. Now we have these black buttons for his eyes and his mouth, and the buttons for his shirt, I guess. And that was another thing. So I had 5 buttons for his mouth, but somewhere along the way, my 5th button ran away. So 2 for his eyes, 2 for his shirt, and then 4 for his mouth. And we're just going to start gluing these down. I'm telling you, I'm not sure that anything went right. Well, that's not true. I mean, eventually he turned out right. But, man, I had a really hard time with this guy. And I'm not sure why. It should have been an easy craft. Do you ever have those days when you think you're going to make like a real easy craft and it turns out and it was so hard you just can't believe it and you want to give up, but you're like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do this. Well, that was this one. So I'm just hot gluing the 4 buttons on for his mouth. And there's the ball for his cap. And I do end up gluing that on wrong. I wanted the fur to come out towards the outside. And as you see, it's pointing towards his hat. That is not what I wanted. I wanted it to point away from his hat. So I do take it off and turn it around eventually. Now, I didn't like the back part of my snowman because there's just that little piece of flannel at the top. So I'm taking the lining of the hat and we're just going to glue that down on him to make the back look better. And you see at this point the ball and the hat still facing in the wrong direction. But you'll see later on that I switch it around. And once I get this piece on here, I take my finger sander and I start sanding off the edges, and it worked really well. I mean, this is like fabric type stuff, but I mean, it worked wonderfully. And now we're just going to add some of that lining to the back of the ball of the hat. And again, I'm going to take my finger sander and sand the excess off. And like I say, it worked like a charm. Again, I will put the link to that finger sander in the description box. And I'm not sure what I was doing right there. But anyway, so I have this pick that I got from the Dollar Tree. I thought it would be great for his arms. It just looks like some sticks. And there's 2 little sticks on each side, so I just glued those on. And now I'm taking this black marker and I'm just going around any of the places where the hat is or the scarf, just so you don't see that wood poking through, just so it looks more cohesive. So I do it around the scarf and I do it around the hat. Just covering up the wood around the edges. And now I decide, you know what, I'm going to take my paint marker and I am going to paint him white because I really wanted him to be white. And so that's what I do. I use my paint marker and I paint him white. Now, like I said, if you paint him white to start out with, then you won't have to go around all these pieces that you've already glued onto him. But this guy just gave me a real hard time. And now I take my paintbrush and get a little more in between, like the buttons where the mouth is, and just kind of around all the pieces. And that's it. Here he is. I think he turned out pretty good. I'm proud of him. I'm so glad I'm done making him. So now on to our next project. We're going to be using one of these wood houses. Now, I didn't realize when I bought these houses that they were different. So a couple of the houses I got had the door and a window. So we're just going to use the door from one of those houses. And then the other houses had the 3 windows, and of course they both had the snow on the top. And I really didn't realize they were different. So we're going to use the 3 windows, the door, and the snow on the top. And the first thing I'm going to do is to take my acrylic paint, and it's in the color Pavement. And if you see that matte, that yellow matte there, now mine tore, but I have it. They come 3 in a pack: a pink, a yellow one, and a blue one. They're great for putting down on your surface and doing your painting or whatever, because once you're done, you just take them into the sink with a sponge and you just wipe the paint right off. So now that we've painted our windows in the black, we've left that bottom part, which is the snow. We're going to paint all the snow pieces then with my white paint. And the only white paint I have right now is that paint that I put in that bottle. It's the Kills. It's some house paint that I had, and that's what I'm using. But acrylic paint or chalk paint would be fine. I just used what I have. I really do want to get me a bottle of black chalk paint and white chalk paint, but I just haven't gone to the store yet to do that. So I'm just painting all my snowy pieces. Got that all done, and now I have my house, and I'm painting the whole thing with my white Kills paint. And after you do it, you can still see the outline of the things that are imprinted on the house. So it helps with the placement of the windows and your snow and all like that. So now I have my homemade Mod Podge, which is 1 cup of either school glue or all-purpose glue, and I use the Elmer's, and a 1/4 cup of water, and you just mix them together. That's all it is. Just like matte Mod Podge. So I'm just putting it on the snowy pieces on my windows and for the rooftop. And then I have this fake snow that I got from Hobby Lobby last year after Christmas. So I paid like pennies for it. Just shaking off the excess. The stuff is kind of messy. If you don't have this, you can use glitter. This stuff is a little bit bigger than glitter, but it's just as messy as glitter. And now I have my Ladybug vacuum. I'm vacuuming up anything that's left there. And, you know, I had to get me one. Everybody else had one. Not to say that, you know, I do everything because everybody else does it. But I thought, you know what? That's a great little vacuum to have. Especially like if you have messy stuff like glitter or the fake snow, or even when you're sanding something and you have the shavings there. It works really well to clean up the mess. So I'm going to put a link in a description box if you're interested in purchasing one of those. So I'm just putting my pieces on. I put the snow on the rooftop, and now we put the front door on. Now I'm going to put the windows on. Now there's one window that's a little wider than the rest. It goes on the 2nd floor. So these are the 2 smaller windows that are on the 1st floor. So my house is white with black windows and doors. You can see where to put the windows by what is on the house. Now we have these 2 trees. Mine are silver. I got them from the Dollar Tree, and I painted them, spray painted them with the green paint. Took the little bottoms off, and they just screw off. And now what we're going to do is we're going to decide which side is going to be the back side. And when I figure that out, then I trim that up because I want it to lay flat against the house. So I just take my scissors and I trim that up. And then I take my wire cutters and I cut the bottom of the tree off a little bit. cut about half of it off. It was just a little bit too long. So here I am trying to figure out which side looks best to be the front side of my tree. And then I'm just going to trim off the back side so it lays flat on the house. And then trim up the bottom metal piece. And those are going to go right beside my doors. My door. On either side of my door. And there's a little wreath with a little bow on it. I got those from Hobby Lobby years ago, and it's my last one. And now these I also got from Hobby Lobby years and years ago. These are little holly berries. So these are going to be the lights that are going around the house. And I counted, and I need about 20 of those. So I'm going to cut 20 of those off. Here I am counting them. And these are on wire, so I do use my wire cutters. Putting glue on the door so that we can hang our wreath. Fits perfectly, it's just the right size. Now we're gonna put the trees on either side of the door. I think this turns out so cute. Do you guys like doing mixed media projects? I really like doing them. You don't always know what you're going to use to decorate with. And so, you know, picking out the stuff and put it on there and then trying it out, seeing if it looks good or not. I just think that's part of the process of it, and I really like doing it. So I have this gold ribbon that I've had. It probably came from Walmart years ago, and it does have some sequins in it. And we're just going to put that on that piece that is between the first and the second floor of the house. So we're just going to glue that down there, cut off the end, make sure it's glued down. Pull a couple of those sequins off there so I can lay it down. Now we're going to add our lights on. So we're going to have red lights going around the roof of the house and between the first and second floors. Again, you can still see where the design is on the house, where to place these. Now what we're going to do is take the wood glue and we're going to put it along the bottom edge of the house. We're going to go over the stem on the tree, and then we're going to put our snow on top of that. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Put a little glue down, go over the stem of the tree, and then go to the other side. And then put our snow on top. We're going to shake that off. We're going to add our hanger on here. Once we get the hanger on, then we're going to take this outside and we're going to give it a coat of the semi-gloss spray. And that'll keep the snow from falling off of our house. And there it is. Isn't that cute? I love it. And there it is, hanging on my wall. And now we have both of them, the snowman and the house. Which one is your favorite? I like them both, but I think I would have to go with the house. That gave me less trouble. Again, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please feel free to do so. And give me a big thumbs up if you like what you see.